This video is going to take a more advanced look at common motifs that are shared in myths and religions from antiquity. And I'm going to show you how to read them. The shared motifs that we're familiar with, a lot of people see these ones, they're very easy. Maybe a flood story that's being shared or something like that. And you'd go, yeah, that sounds like it's emerged in other material. And there's other things, though, that are more difficult to see, motifs. And that's what I'm going to be doing here. This is where it gets more advanced. For example, sailing through clashing rocks, running through a Red Sea, a baptismal, crossing the river Chebar. Any of those stories right there sound like they're different, aren't they? But what they are is conceptually patterned into a story on a template, and they represent something at a deeper layer, crossing the threshold. So when we get into what I'm doing here, it's going to be a lot more advanced than just looking at something and saying, well, that's obviously the same thing. You have to think these ones through. This is where it's going to become very hard to access, and only certain people with certain cognitive processes and interest in doing this are going to be able to even understand it. That's why people really don't talk about this. It's just very difficult to understand. It takes a lot of time. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. I'm going to be using Ecclesiastes and making some comparisons, some motif comparisons and style changes in the way that things are being repeated in material. I'm going to show you something, a line in Ecclesiastes that sounds like a line from the Babylonian creation epic, the Enuma Elish. All right, let's just cut to this one verse. I'm going to be using the New Revised Standard Version just for the verbiage. I don't want to, it'll make a better comparison with something that is not written in this style. The verse that we're looking at right here is in chapter 2, and it's verse 23. For all their days are full of pain, and their work is a vexation. Even at night, their minds do not rest. This is also vanity. What I'm going to do is copy this and go look at the Enuma Elish. Okay, and you'll notice that this is following a similar pattern that in Ecclesiastes, that was in chapter 2, right up in front. Now we got 7 tablets here, but right very close in the first tablet. So we've got both of these appearing very much in the beginning of the whatever the material is. This one says, I have been very troubled by the manner of their conduct, so that I could not relax during the day nor sleep well at night. Now what these represents is a bundle of memories that we're accumulating. This becomes the mote in the eye, as it were, the ought against your brother. I've been troubled by the manner of their conduct, that I could not relax during the day nor sleep well at night. And then remember what it said here. I've pasted in from Ecclesiastes, for their days are full of pain, so that I could not relax during the day. Their work is a vexation. I have been troubled by the manner of their conduct. Even at night, their minds do not rest, so that I could not relax during the day nor sleep well at night. You see, they sound kind of different, but they really, if you understand what they are, that these are your memories. I have been very troubled by the manner of their conduct. Yeah, my memories are, I can't resolve this stuff. I can't relax in the day or sleep well at night. I'm a wreck. For all their days are full of pain, their work is a vexation. That is me. Even at night, their minds do not rest. This is also vanity. This is describing a group of people that are doing, this is describing everyone, not just the individual, okay? So there's that one that you can see. And does that make sense? All of this is representing us, and all of these character players and things like that they can be from the world, but they represent analogously something inside. We've got a man and a woman, a mental hierarchy, conscious and subconscious. That is a accurate representation. That's why the woman has to be subservient. The inner self is a product of the decisions we've made and the emotion that we gave them. That's what we become through our life experiences, our bundle of judgments. And the ones that are unresolved are hurting us. We need to become poor in spirit, as it were. Okay. All right, Joseph Campbell didn't have to interact with the material, so he didn't find as much as there actually is. What I'm going to show you here is what I call the disappearing God motif. The reason that he didn't find it is because he found the monomyth, which is the calling, the hero's journey, and that is when God returns. God always is there at the calling. What he didn't know is that God just returned right there, because he didn't notice that there was an entire template before that, the human life template where God disappears. In this case, we've got Apsu in the Babylonian creation epic. Apsu is the creator God here, at a time when even the glories above had yet to be named, and unuttered was the word for the world which lay beneath. It was then that the first being Apsu, who was their source, and the progenitor Tiamat, the mother who gave birth to all, intermingled their waters, producing neither field nor marsh. This actually represents us being born as human infants, producing neither field nor marsh. We had no mind. This is you're just born. You got no memories at a time when no divine beings had yet come into existence. There were no names to be spoken and no fates pronounced. So this means no names. This is us not having making decisions. A name spoken would be, I like this, I don't like that. You know, I plug in a verbal parallel here real quick. This green right here comes from the Tao Te Ching from China. There were no names to be spoken and no fates pronounced was there. And here what we have is two verses. Naming is the origin of all particular things. That's us. Naming is the origin. Every memory, that's a memory. A memory is the origin of all of particular things. And in another translation, it'll say, naming is the origin of the 10,000 things. So there's all of our memories, a bundle. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestation. So once we have named things and we don't resolve them, we're going to see them continue to recycle. That's a fate that's going to happen as a result. Up here it says there were no names to be spoken and no fates pronounced. This is where you're shifting the analogs. You're looking at things and realizing, okay, manifestations and fates pronounced mean the same thing. Naming, that one's easy. It's just making a decision, and because of that decision, this is the result that's going to happen because of the way that I've decided to judge that experience with emotion. And as time goes on, it'll even increase and continue to cycle. Not many people see that they do that. That's normal. So this is this. This is being born. You're such an infant that you're not even conscious enough to start knowing what yellow, green, red, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We don't even know those things yet. We're still too young. All right. So that's how these, you can see how they line up that way. So we had not yet began to develop. But the gods were given birth within those intermixing waves. The first were Lamu and Lahamu. That would be the emergence of like Adam and Eve. And you know, you got to bear in mind, this is always a stage of us. This is us, male, conscious, subconscious of us at some point in time, held in a male and a female hierarchy. But it's conscious and subconscious of us along the path. All right. What happens, though, as we get down here, the world has become bad. I'm going to have to just skip ahead. An abounding sleep overcame Apsu. He became pacified. Remember, this is the creator God. He caused him to enter into a deep sleep, steeped in tranquility. We get down here. And he forced Apsu down under his feet and crushed him, and bound Mumu, laying him down over him crosswise. Then he established his own residence on top of the Apsu. So it's going to be a different style, but you see that the creator God here, he didn't disappear, he got destroyed. Later, we get this kind of a strange amalgamation of Apsu, who was trapped away, yet there within the watery Apsu did Marduk take his shape. So Marduk, or Apsu, really represents that whole background energy sort of thing. And it was never trapped away. That represents that it was just not present. You're not here anymore. However, Marduk was born, and Marduk, let's see, what do we have? Because at the time that they killed your husband Apsu, down here, do you hold your husband Apsu within your heart? The gods that dwell within the Apsu will suffer great misery. You see that there's something bigger going on. Apsu is not an entity that is destroyed, but a bigger thing in the background that we're just disconnected from it. It's a very old style. Let's go to Genesis and see what they've done there. Again, I'll just use the NRSV on this one for the sake of the verbiage. So what we have in chapter 4, God has created everything and given their punishment, all that kind of stuff. What has happened so far is actually this. We are born, all the conditions are set up, the cause and effect and the cycles and all of those sorts of things, how we're going to live, the mental hierarchy, very deeply encoded in. There's 2 creation stories. They do different things. This one is establishing also a directions. There's one river coming out of Eden. Eden is a mental state of childhood blissfulness that we leave once we start experiencing life. That's what happens here. First sin is its punishment. We've now begun to experience life, and we're no longer naked. This is spiritual nakedness. Sewed fig leaves and loincloths to cover themselves. We cover ourselves up with shame. The spiritual covering are emotional coverings. You have to really think about these on your own because they're your own personal ones. Think of the things in your head that are, I'm not going to tell people this. I don't want anyone to know that. I don't want to deal with this. I don't somehow something. All those things that are trapped away right there are exactly the problem. Where are you? We're hiding from the Lord. The punishment happens. Here's the cyclical pain. You're going to have pain in childbirth. In pain you shall bring forth childbirth, and your husband shall rule over you. That is establishing the the inner self is going to be subservient to the conscious. Let's put a real face to this pain in childbirth, increasing in cyclical pain in childbirth. The childbirth is whatever emerges as a result of a union of something, right? So what this means is thistles from the garden, or if we were to put it in the most mentally interactive way, pain in childbirth means the anguish and outfall that happens every time unresolved issues are re-triggered again and again. That's continual pain in childbirth, continual emergence of something that is painful because of something that happened in the past that is unresolved. And the man, he said, because you have listened to the words of your wife, you have eaten the tree which I commanded you. You shall not eat of. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. So we're going to live unhappy now and not benefiting mentally. We might succeed financially, but maybe not in a spiritual I'm happy kind of a way. This is another one that happens to all of us. So what is it really? It's not like we're living bad. You look back and go, I don't see how I fit into this. You have to understand what it represents. And it really represents that time in life where you're just living unaware and you're judging the things you see. Well, those people are this. Oh, I see what they're acting like. You're not understanding that there's a cause and effect and that you're caught up into it. You're not stepped out from it. So it's the time in life where you're just learning and you're not aware of that. If you're the kind of person that wants to rise above, then you understand that you're living through those judgments. And this becomes then the pathway in which to teach us how to separate ourselves from that and emerge, out the other side, risen above these issues. But the way they're taught is very bizarre. It's old, very old, by the sweat of your face. So all of this is happening, setting up life. Then we divide. Cain murders Abel. This represents us dividing. But right down here, then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. This represents we have now lost contact with the higher awareness and are living someplace that is east of our happiness. We're not in the happy place. I can't emphasize enough how objectively you have to look at these things. Remembering as you read these, all of these elements are part of you. Close your eyes. It plays out in the theater of your mind. The conversation that's going on is meant to carry the story, but that's not. It's really just describing what's happening. This is the way it works. God is not commanding this to happen. This is what happens. So we'll just say God commands it to happen. Understand that that's what is happening. But then all of the story is still parts of the inner self. It has nothing to do with the physical world at all. So that God is a real element, but it is whatever this is out here that talks to us when it's letting us know, hey, you know better than that. It's that part of us that exists outside of our memories. We start living through our memories. It becomes painful to try and figure out how to escape from living through our memories. But if you're going to do it, that's what you have to do. So the higher awareness is there, and then the male is in Abrahamic material is the consciousness, and the female is the inner being, and the offspring are the results of it. In other material, you could call it your garden. You could call it the gardener, your garden, and the fruits and the weeds. They're all analogous representations of judged memories. God does not return until the Lord comes back and says, wow, the world has gone bad. I'm going to destroy it. Nobody's doing anything right. So that's kind of weird. He was never around that whole time. He just comes back without giving anybody any guidance and says, I'm going to go ahead and just wipe them all out. The religion hadn't, Abram had not been called yet, or Abraham had not been called yet. By really getting analytical with the story, though, you look at that and go, you know what? God didn't arbitrarily disappear. You look at how life works, and we're the ones that are consciously unaware to us, floating around among these mind states, not aware of it, gradually growing into our memories and becoming more and more living through the anguish of those. How bad does it get for you? You know, how noisy is it upstairs? But it shows that disappearing God syndrome. God disappears and then returns at the calling. I'm going to jump back to Ecclesiastes, and I'm not going to interpret this. I'm just going to read it and let you think about it. It's chapter 12. It's the last chapter, and it is the first verse. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come, and the years draw near when you will say, I have no pleasure in them. Yeah, how hard do you have to work on that one now? That's how these are working. Does that make sense? I'm going to let that go with that because I know it's a deep understanding and it takes a while to get it done. But the videos, when they get long, they just don't get viewed. So, all right, take care. See you in the next one.